After months of frustration and unanswered calls from agents, Emeka finally found a small but tidy apartment in a quiet compound in the heart of Ogbia, a modest town in Bayelsa State. It wasn't fancy, but it felt right, peaceful, safe. The day he moved in, neighbors peeked through half-closed curtains and leaned out from their verandas, whispering and smiling. One by one they greeted him. Most were unusually warm, and many, especially the women, didn't hide their admiration. "Ah, this one fine? Oh," one said aloud, nudging her friend. "He's so gentle-looking," another whispered. "Not like these other boys around here." Emeka only smiled politely, nodding in appreciation. The attention was flattering but unfamiliar. Back in Port Harcourt, no one cared who moved in next door. Within a week, Emeka had settled in. He greeted everyone with a kind smile and always made time to chat, even when he returned late from the bank, exhausted. His calm demeanor made him a quick favorite in the compound. Then came the unexpected knock. It was a quiet Saturday morning. Emeka was reclining on the small plastic chair outside his door, sipping lukewarm tea and going through some messages on his phone when he heard the knock. He opened the door, expecting a neighbor with a request or perhaps someone looking for the landlord. But instead, a small girl, around 8 years old, stood there. "Uncle, you are new to this compound," she said, her eyes wide and innocent. "I came to pay you a visit to tell you welcome and know about you." Emeka raised an eyebrow in pleasant surprise, smiling. "Oh, wow, that's very kind of you," he said. "Please come in." She walked in with the confidence of someone raised with good manners, but also a dash of boldness not often seen in children her age. She sat on the edge of the plastic chair, legs swinging. "You did well to come check up on me," Emeka said. "What's your name?" "My name is Inni," she replied proudly. "I live here with my mummy. My dad is late. He died in an accident when I was just 2 years old. That's what my mummy told me."
Emeka's face softened. I'm so sorry about that." And he shrugged. "It's okay, Uncle. We all will die someday. It's just sad that my dad left too early." Her calmness stunned Emeka. She wasn't just a regular child. There was a depth in her eyes that didn't match her age. As he searched for words, Annie leaned forward, ready to fire her next round of curious questions. "So, Uncle, tell me about yourself. Why did you leave where you were staying before? What do you do for a living? Are you married? If you're not, what are you waiting for before you get married?" Emeka burst into laughter, genuinely amused. Annie, small now. You've turned into a journalist this morning." "But I want to know," Annie said, pouting a little, arms folded. Okay, Emeka said, sitting upright. "Let me start from somewhere. Well, I work in a bank." Before he could go on, Annie's eyes lit up. "No wonder! You're hardly at home. My mommy told me that bankers hardly stay at home. That was my late daddy's profession, too." Emeka paused, touched. "Really?" She nodded. "Yes. Mommy said he loved his work so much. Sometimes he'd come back late, but he always bought me sweets." There was a short silence between them, the kind that didn't feel awkward. Emeka felt a strange warmth in his chest. This little girl reminded him of something. Perhaps of a niece he hadn't seen in years, or a future daughter he sometimes dreamed about but didn't speak of. Annie soon stood up. "I'll go now, Uncle, but I'll come again next Saturday, okay?" He smiled. "I'll be expecting you, Madam Journalist." As she skipped out of his apartment, Emeka sat still, thoughtful. He had come to this town hoping for peace, running from memories he didn't want to face. But somehow, in this small girl's innocent visit, a new chapter had begun, one he hadn't planned for, but maybe just maybe, needed. The next Saturday came just as calmly as the last. True to her promise, Annie returned to Emeka's apartment, her usual cheerful self, hugging a small notebook in her hand like a seasoned interviewer. "Uncle," she said, as she settled comfortably on the chair, "last time you said you'd tell me why you're not yet married. Because honestly, I don't understand. You're a responsible man. You have a good job, and I'm sure you have enough money that can marry a good wife for you, and you can take care of her." Emeka chuckled softly, sipping his glass of water. "You again with your deep questions," he said with a smile. "Well, Annie, I will marry at the right time." Annie raised a brow and gave him a dramatic side-eye. "Uncle, when is the right time?" she asked, folding her arms like a strict teacher waiting for an answer. Emeka sighed and leaned back. "It's not really easy to find a wife, Annie. I've been searching for a good woman for over 3 years now, but most of the women I meet, they don't align with my dreams. I don't want to just marry anyone. I want a woman who will be a mother to me and to our children. I want someone I can build with, someone I'll grow old with. I don't want to marry and divorce. I want forever." Annie nodded slowly, unusually quiet. "That's nice, Uncle. I truly understand. Please take your time. It's better to marry late than marry today and divorce tomorrow." Emeka smiled, visibly impressed. "You're wise, Annie. Very wise." Their conversation continued, with Annie tossing in more curious questions about Emeka's childhood, his job, his favorite food, and even his worst fear. Emeka answered them all patiently. She listened like she cared, not just the way a child does when hearing stories, but like someone trying to understand life before she lived it fully. Emeka offered her some rice and stew he had cooked earlier. She ate happily, licking her fingers and complimenting his cooking. "Uncle, you cook like my mummy, maybe even better," she giggled. After about an hour, Annie stood up to leave. "I'll be going now, but don't forget, you are now my big uncle and mentor. I'll be visiting you from time to time." "You're always welcome, Annie," Emeka said, walking her to the door. The next morning, just as he was stepping outside, Annie ran up to greet him. "Uncle, I just came to say good morning." "Thank you, Annie. That's sweet of you," Emeka replied. But peace never lasts long in places where gossip feeds faster than hunger. The following day, as Emeka returned from work, he overheard voices near the corridor. It was Anne, one of his neighbors, speaking to Annie's mother. "I don't trust that man. Why?" Anne said sharply. "This is how these things start. Allowing a small girl to be going to his room every weekend? Haven't you been seeing what's happening online? Even so-called responsible men are doing terrible things. Don't say I didn't warn you." Annie's mother hesitated, but Emeka doesn't seem like that. He has been nothing but kind. Anne cut in. "You never really know anybody. Please, let her come to my place if she's looking for company. At least I'm a woman too. It's safer." Emeka stood frozen a few steps away, heart sinking. He quietly walked past them and entered his room without a word. Inside, he sat on the edge of his bed and stared at the wall. The air felt heavy. He felt insulted, misjudged. A confrontation would only spark gossip, he thought. It would make him look defensive or even guilty. But the weight of the accusation, unspoken yet loud, pressed on him. He couldn't sleep well that night. The next morning, he heard muffled cries outside. He peeked through his window and saw Annie crying while her mother scolded and pulled her back inside the house. "You will never go to that man's house again," she shouted. "If you want to visit someone, go to Anne. She's your fellow female." That hurt deeper than Emeka expected. He felt something shift in him. He didn't know what to call it. Was it grief, anger, or disappointment in a world where innocence had become suspicious? Later that day, he saw Annie quietly walk over to Anne's apartment. She knocked softly and disappeared behind the door. Emeka stood by his window, watching, heart heavy. He had lost something that didn't belong to him, but still felt precious. A bond had been broken, and he didn't know how or if it would ever be restored. Annie started visiting Auntie Anne more frequently, though her visits were no longer filled with the same innocent excitement she used to show at Emeka's door. On her 5th visit, Anne smiled unusually wide and said, "Annie, I'll buy you a gift." The following week, Anne gave Annie a beautiful new dress wrapped in a shiny nylon bag. Annie's eyes lit up. "Thank you, Auntie Anne," she said with genuine gratitude. Then Anne whispered, "Let's play a little game. You'll like it." At first, Annie agreed innocently, but minutes into the game, she felt strange. Something didn't feel right. The play was painful and confusing. She shifted uncomfortably, wincing. "Auntie, I don't like this play," she said softly. "It's painful and strange." Anne's smile didn't fade. Instead, she leaned in and said, "The pain will go away soon, I promise. But you must never tell anyone about our little game. If you do, you will die." Annie froze. Her small hands trembled. She nodded slowly, fear thick in her throat. "Okay, I want to go home now." Anne, sensing her discomfort, tried to delay her. "Just stay a little while, so no one will know you're feeling pain." But Annie left. That evening she was unusually quiet. Her mother noticed. "Annie, what's wrong?" she asked gently. "I'm fine," Annie replied, her voice almost a whisper. At school the next day, her teacher observed her silence, the slump in her shoulders, the light gone from her eyes. "Annie, are you okay?" she asked softly. Annie shook her head. "I don't want to talk. If I talk, I will die." The teacher's heart sank. That wasn't something a child should say. She pulled Annie aside and knelt before her. "Listen to me," she said calmly. "You won't die, I promise. No one can make that happen. Just tell me what happened." It took gentle coaxing, reassurance, and tears, but Annie finally opened up. She narrated what Auntie Anne did, how the game hurt, and the terrifying threat. Her teacher's hands shook as she held Annie's. She didn't wait a second. She took Annie home immediately and explained everything to her mother. Annie's mother was horrified, fury and pain burning in her chest. She stormed to Anne's apartment like a blazing fire. "You demon in human skin," she screamed. "You think you can hurt my child and go free?" Neighbors poured out of their rooms trying to hold her back, but the truth had already hit like a bombshell. Within minutes, Annie's mother called the police DPO and reported the matter. The DPO didn't delay. He sent 5 officers to the compound. Anne, cold-faced and pretending ignorance, was handcuffed and taken away. Only then did the pieces fall into place for the entire compound and the neighborhood. Now they understood why Anne never had a male friend, why she kept only women and little girls close. The false smile, the fake warmth. It had all been a mask. As the police van disappeared down the road with her inside, a deep silence covered the compound. Emeka stood quietly at his window, his heart heavy for Aini. That evening, as dusk wrapped the small Bayelsa town in quiet, Emeka walked over to Aini's home. Aini's mother opened the door. Emeka looked down and said softly, "I'm sorry. I should have said something the day I overheard her." Her mother nodded tearfully. "You were only trying to avoid trouble." But look how silence almost buried the truth. Inside, Aini sat, wrapped in a light shawl, her eyes tired but free. She looked up and managed a small smile. "Uncle Emeka," she whispered. "Yes, Aini. Thank you for being kind, even when others judged you." And for the first time in days, Emeka smiled. Because truth may take time, but it always finds its way. And sometimes, the people we judge too quickly are the ones who carry the light we need. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Like to show support for voices that speak up. Comment with your thoughts. What would you have done if you were Emeka or Aini's mother? And subscribe for more stories that reveal the hidden truths around us, remind us of the power of kindness, and challenge us to be better humans. Because sometimes the smallest light can break the deepest darkness. Let's keep sharing the light together.